Well, I think there's, in virtually every instance and every facet of this control agenda, there's multi-reasons for most things that they do. Not just one. There's a main reason, but then there's others. First of all, they have an agenda for the mass culling of the human population. I go into this in Remember Who You Are and how they're planning to do it and how they are in the process of doing it. And so one aspect of the chemtrails is that they come down, we breathe them in, and it does us a lot of damage in terms of health. And this disease called Magellan's disease, where these fibers, these technological fibers coming out of people's bodies, and no matter how many you pull them out, they're just there. It's like they're growing, you know. And that I am absolutely convinced is from chemtrails, because they started about the same time as each other. And my feeling is another content of chemtrails is a form of nanotechnology. And I think it's nanotechnology that is actually generating those fibers that seem to have some kind of life that is in Morgellons disease. So yes, on that level, they're doing it because it's part of the destruction of human health. But I think also they are seeking to create a sub-reality in a way, or a sub-atmosphere around the planet on the level that we interact with. And I think that the chemtrails are part of that. And also they connect into HAARP, which has the ability, I mean, you know, Bernard Eastland, who was the man who applied for the patent, for original patents for HAARP, on behalf of a transnational corporation, he has said, he said at one point that HAARP has the ability to put a energetic shield around the planet. And it seems that there are more and more efforts to manipulate the atmosphere, the sea in which we live. As I've said many times, if you want to affect all the fish, what do? You affect the sea. Well, we are living in a sea of energy. And if you can impact upon that sea, you impact upon anyone who is interacting with it. And again, we come back to this defense shield against the truth vibrations. They're trying everything they can to stop humans being impacted by them. And one of the ways that they are doing it is by attacking and manipulating the energy sea field that we interact with, so that it is suppressing our ability to open and expand. And I think chemtrails are part of that. I think HAARP is definitely part of that. And another thing that I go into in this book, Remember Who You Are, which is about the mass culling of the population, but also about this whole energy shield, and that's what I call the radiation agenda. For years and years now, I've been ticking off more and more sources of radiation that humans are subjected to. And when I look, I mean, for instance, I met an Oxford Don in the 1990s called Kitty Little, Dr. Kitty Little, who had connections into, you know, British intelligence and stuff, and she had started to see that what I was talking about now, what I'm talking about now, was real. And so I had a meeting with her, and she used to work for the United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority. And so she was very, very expert in that whole area of nuclear power technology. And she told me then in the 1990s that the Rothschild family, who of course are fundamentally involved in this global conspiracy, were the force that led to the introduction of nuclear power. So now we have nuclear power stations all over the world, which are all potentially, you know, catastrophic releases of radiation, and many of them are leaking like a sieve anyway. And so when I looked at what happened at Fukushima in Japan, it was just too much of a gift. That colossal release of radiation, which is still going on, was just too much of a gift for me to be an accident, or at least to accept it was an accident without further investigation. And I explain in the book that my feeling is that, and I put the evidence for it, and you know, I'm not alone. There's other people that have come to the same conclusion, that actually Fukushima was blown up by small nuclear weapons, what are called gun-type nuclear weapons. It's interesting to note that Fukushima had a whole new so-called security and sensor system put in. And you know, technology's continually getting smaller and lighter. Well, these bloody cameras at Fukushima that they put in the year before the explosion, they weighed 1,000 pounds. I mean, what, you know? But when you put them together with a small gun-type nuclear weapon, and you take the casing off the nuclear weapon, I mean, they're ridiculously close to looking like each other. And then you realize that the people that, or the firm that put them in, was an Israeli company that's based at Dimona in Israel, which is the location of the Israeli massive nuclear weapons program. And after I'd come to these conclusions, there was a nuclear engineer called Arnie Gunderson who did a speech in Boston, I think it was. And it was an alert speech, because he said, we've realized that the explosion, or one of the explosions at Fukushima, has done something that should not be possible with a nuclear power station. It has in effect broken the speed of sound. It was a detonation speed wave, and a nuclear explosion caused by a nuclear power station alone should never ever cause a detonation speed wave. So his speech was, we realized that it is possible for a detonation speed wave to be caused by, well, maybe you haven't. Maybe you have identified a detonation speed wave because Fukushima was detonated, wasn't a natural explosion. And as a result of that, of course, the atmosphere of the world is being irradiated on a very large scale, and it's increasing every day. And you know, I would not for a second be surprised to see more such Fukushima accidents, quote, in the years to come, because they clearly have a agenda to irradiate far more than ever has been the atmosphere of the Earth. And I think that one reason is that they want a situation where there's a dramatically reduced population. And of course, radiation will impact upon that, especially if it gets even more serious and powerful in the atmosphere. But also they know that there will be certain human genetic types that will mutate to be able to stand a greater amount of radiation, and they're the people, or the genetic lines, that they want to be around after this this cull that they want has taken place. Because it seems to me, from my research over the years, that these entities have a problem with our atmosphere, and they can live and need to live in a much more irradiated atmosphere. And I think they're changing. They're trying to change the atmosphere as well to become more suitable for them. Mm-hmm. And I remember another very prophetic film I watched called The Arrival, which starred a guy called Charlie Sheen. Came out, I think, in the early 90s, and the story was that this Charlie Sheen character realized that NASA was controlled by non-human entities who look human, and that they were changing the Earth's atmosphere so that they could come and outwardly experience or be here with an atmosphere that suited them. I think something like that's definitely happening.